Hi, welcome to If You Live It, a quick introduction to this particular video where we're diving deeper into joy, unconditional love, the root and the heart of chapter step 11 of the book If You Live It. Quick, so let's dive into the timestamp so you have an idea of what you might be in store for. I hope you dig it. If you don't, freely pass on, hit subscribe, do whatever you want, come back to it. This entire thing is about bringing you closer to God. So what do we have in store for you in this particular video? Number one, we start breaking down choice. Next timestamp, the mind. What is it? How does it work? Number three, beingness, the choice to be as opposed to do. Beyond thoughts is the next one. How do we go beyond that? Service to mankind, service to humanity. How is it a pathway? Unconditional love and joy. We dive deep into this particular step in this particular chapter. Pathways, if you live it as a pathway, other pathways of the heart, of the mind, of the soul, spiritual, religious pathways. How do you actually choose something to chase after God? Attachments and aversions, what are they? Where do they come from? Pleading with God, how do you beg God in a real earnest way to set your feet on the right path? And then lastly, we just break down again real quick. What is If You Live It? The community, how's it growing? Again, I'm Mason Woldridge. Peace, love. This is If You Live It. We're diving deeper into chapter 11, step 11, unconditional love, witnessing joy, many blessings. I'm out of here. Welcome to If You Live It. I am Mason Woldridge, the author of If You Live It, the creator of this channel, the founder of this entire community that's growing by leaps and bounds around the world. Today, we are taking a deeper dive into chapter 11, step 11 of the book If You Live It, where we're going to look at directly witnessing joy. Witnessing a life lived where unconditional love is what we are, is where we're coming from, is how we operate in the world around us. The entirety of our lives are based on a backdrop of consciousness that allows for heaven or hell to be present within every choice, every moment, subjectively. That's the reality of how we experience humanness. That is consciousness. Without consciousness, we don't have the experience of being human. There is no backdrop. There is no context. There is nothing but just isness. Consciousness is a characteristic of God as much as love is a characteristic of God. For slightly different reasons, they're present. For slightly different reasons, they coexist, cohabitate, are part of this thing we call being human. Love is how we get to know God, how we experience God, the reality of truth present. Varying degrees of it dictate subjectively the amount of happiness, the amount of joy, the amount of peace, the amount of prosperity, the amount of hope, or it not being present in particular levels, at particular volumes, with a particular amount, is what makes it feel as if we're hopeless, apathetic, filled with grief, remorse, shame, guilt, fear, craving, desire, wanting, pride, anger. It is not opposites that dictate how we experience life. It's through choice based on consciousness being the backdrop for all of content to have expression in the first place. All of life is our subjective experience, witness, or observation of such, consciously or subconsciously or unconsciously. It's all consciousness that allows for definition, that allows for language, that allows for content to arise out of it. Consciousness is how we would describe the omnipotence, omnipresence, and omnipotence of God, as well as what allows us to even have those words and definitions to start with, that even allows for this thing to be recorded and presented to you, that allows for this representation of this physical body at this particular time in this place and space-time, that allows for you to be here watching this, that allows for you to do anything in your particular life and have any vantage point thereof, is because of the gift of consciousness. This entire thing of If You Live It is based on understanding consciousness as the backdrop for your own experience of God, for your own proof points along the way, for your own, not scientific proof of what's happening, but confirmatory proof of what's happening. Science is based on the physical proof of something, but it's only a paradigm within consciousness. It is not the entirety of consciousness. Fear is a paradigm of consciousness. Love is a paradigm of consciousness. Acceptance, coming from a place of peace. Witnessing joy abounding in your life. Being filled with shame and guilt. Remorse. Hiding. Giving, taking, serving. Providing. Hugging, holding, kissing. Reading. Being. Choosing. Choice is the root of how we get to experience consciousness at an infinite rate constantly. Choice is the greatest gift we have as human beings. As some would say, the sponsoring root of humanity is the gift of choice. Now, there is nothing outside of God. You are not a sinful, fallen creature who's forever separated by God. You are here in human form in agreement with God to be here in human form, sponsored by the creator of all things, creating the allowance and the opportunity to be here in human form. You did not by happenstance get created and then sent here banished because you're a piece of crap. There is an entire world where we try to, through religion, define suffering as being banished from here, separate from a transcendent God who is somewhere else, who needs intermediaries in order to point back to for the reality of experiencing maybe one day the presence of God again. It's nonsense. I'm not saying if you believe that, you are nonsensical. I'm saying the reason, the logic, the truth is a human-born reason, logic, and truth through words, trying to understand what it is we're here doing, being, seeing, experiencing, witnessing, being a part of, having a part of. Every single soul manifested into a physicality, into a human body, has agreed with God to come here for a very specific reason, purpose, with choice being at the base root of that. You are never choosing outside of God. It only seems that way. You are never outside of God. It only appears that way. You are not separate from another. It's an illusion of being here in a body. The physicality of separateness. From a macro standpoint, there is nothing separate. You are not actually making any decisions or choices, which is a pretty wild thing to see when you finally see that. If you see that. If you chase after God, you will see that. When we say chase after God, chase after truth, pursue enlightenment, exemplify Christ's message in your steps, not your words. Being the reality and truth of Krishna and embodying active inaction as a pathway to God and understanding the truth that there is no opposites. We've talked about this in past videos, in past breakdowns, what the illusion of an opposite is. The entire experience of being human is based on this backdrop of consciousness. And again, is based on where we come from, how much truth comes through us, how much truth we are, how much love we experience regularly. So if consciousness is the backdrop, is the canvas, love is how we express the painting. Colors are the expression of love. The paintbrush is how we would assume we are singular and apart from. We are not apart from God. We are not separated from God. We are not sinful, fallen creatures forever doomed to be tormented on this earth. We are spirit, soul, which is God, part of this entire thing of God. God is a word that will throw some of you off because God seems singular. God is infinite. God is plurality. God is not divisive. God is not religion. God is not your religion. God is. God is I of all things. How we experience the godness of all things is through I-ness. I-ness is defined by the amount of love present, the amount of truth that comes through us. Our pursuit of truth, our pursuit of God is the determinant of more happiness, more joy, more peace, more prosperity, more hope, more blessings, more miracles, more synchronicities. It's not that that chasing after God produces this, it's that chasing after God removes the veil of separateness so that what is seen is no longer as the byproduct of what we think we're doing or accomplishing or holding on to or creating, but we see that God is present everywhere, all the time, everything, and that God is the miracle, God is the synchronicity, God is the breath, God is the joy, God is the hope, God is everything. How we experience that, again, is through love. How we even have the ability to be part of it is through consciousness. And our entire purpose for being here can be rooted in the word choice. To choose left or right, up or down, truth or untruth, love or fear, God or something else. You are not separate from God. This world is not banished, filled with sinful fallen creatures. This is more akin to the opportunity to step into a video game and get to experience momentarily a level of consciousness that creates a seeming separateness. But God and you are the same thing. God and your neighbor, God and your mother-in-law, God and your child, God and your animals, God and the world. It's all God, represented in different physical forms through the manifestation of energy coming from consciousness itself, sponsoring the life particle of all things. It's incredible when you see it. It's unbelievable when it's presented to you. When you choose to pursue enlightenment, you're choosing to pursue a subjective connection with the Creator. You're not choosing to be outside of something that God has created. You're choosing to see the fullness, the beautiful Sistine Chapel from a step back, looking upwards and seeing the entirety in an image. And you're seeing that even that image is part of something far greater than you could have any imagining of, and not bound by a physical building or a wall structure or a ceiling structure. God is so much more than you have any idea, because the mind has no ability to calculate the immensity of something far greater than its confines of creation. You cannot think your way to God. You have to put into practice a pathway that pushes you towards the reality of more truth present in your life. There are few pathways more precious than the gift of serving another by serving God through emulating the footsteps of Jesus. You can legitimately serve your way to God. And if you had asked Mother Teresa, how does she know God is present everywhere in all people? Because she served her way to God. Being around truth doesn't mean that you become truth, but it means it sets up a level of awareness that is different than it would be otherwise. Finding yourself in a room of Alcoholics Anonymous or any anonymous group, finding yourself surrounded by people who are chasing after God in prayer groups and meditation groups, finding yourself in a parking lot of a grocery store with carts everywhere and going and getting all 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 carts and pushing them into a bin is service. It's doing and making a choice to help someone when otherwise you wouldn't need to help someone. And it's in that helping them that you experience more truth, more love, more joy. You will not find happiness sitting on your sofa, continuing to get drunk and playing video games, smoking bowls, and eating pizza. You will not find more happiness lying to someone that you work for to try and sell something that doesn't exist. You will not find a respite from anxiety, continuing to watch 24-hour news peddling lies and manipulations for you to buy what it is they're selling. You will not find more happiness comparing your life to another on social media, which only continues to show you how someone's life is wonderful when in all actuality it isn't. The vast majority of mankind right now comes from a place where they're dominated by the lower levels of ego, fear in all of its forms. And they manipulate that on social media to try and sell you something, to try to pretend something. The vast majority of mankind who comes from a place where they are experiencing or witnessing love present in their life gives two rips about putting something on social media or telling you you have to live a certain way or selling you some way to market and make money on a social media platform. Your phone is not reality. This is a platform we can use to deliver this message to you, but put the phone down once the message has been delivered and go be Jesus for another. Go be Krishna for another. Realize you are Arjuna with Krishna talking to you. Go be and walk the eightfold path. Be a Buddha. But you don't arrive at Buddhahood by just snapping your fingers and saying, I am going to do this. I am enlightened. I am this. I am this. Because the reality is, if someone tells you, I am enlightened, it's already a lie. And the reason it's a lie, because when that sets in, there is no I present. There's no I to be enlightened separate from another. Go be the Sermon on the Mount. Go be the battlefield at Kurukshetra. Go be the Bodhi tree and the wind blowing on your face. Go be the way through the teachings of Lao Tzu. Use these as fundamental principles for your life and then apply them. You don't get to have a mountaintop experience by just thinking about what it would be like to climb a mountain. You have to go climb the mountain. It's that simple. In this entire exposition of this chapter, and what's getting delivered to you is telling you that you can be unconditional love, a level of consciousness that you resonate with and from and outward and subjectively come from as an actual aspect of being a human this time. You can be miracles. You can reach sainthood. You can reach Buddhahood and Christhood, just meaning you're anointed. And how do you reach being anointed? You chase after God. You serve people. That's how you serve God. Give what you have to the world. It doesn't mean that you're going to be asked to give away everything you have, but freely, if you are asked to give everything away that you have, it's because that's what you need to be what it is you're on this earth to do and to be. Give away your talents, give away your time, give away your heart, give away your mind, give away your thoughts, give away your feelings, give away your emotions. Get to the root of what it is of how you can serve your spouse, your community, your county, your state, your city, your friends, your business, the owners of the business. If that means you go into the world of politics to serve your people, that's what that means. If it means you go into the world of just pushing a broom on the floor as a janitor, that's what it means. It doesn't matter what you do. We categorize these different jobs and these different things we can do as better than or less than. It's how you do them that defines, is this better for you or less than for you? What is better for you is how you can love others through what it is you're doing. I have been poor, I have been rich. I have been without money, I have been with an immensity of money. And it doesn't matter internally as to happiness and the state of joy present. If it is for you to be financially secure, it's so that you can be a proper steward and help others find financial security, not to hoard it, not to hide it, not to put it in offshore accounts so not to be taxed for it. Everything we have been given, we've been given. Even if you've worked your tail off your entire life and you believe you have done these things, the entire world has positioned itself so that you even have the opportunity to accumulate things. You haven't done anything but chased after something. Having money is not bad. Having money is not good. Having 10 homes is not bad. Having 10 homes is not good. These are not good or bad. You're not blessed or not blessed because of. In fact, those who have the hardest lives are probably blessed the most because they're given the most opportunity to work off the karma of not having, of seeing God through the not having. It is entirely more difficult to see God when you serve the master of the world. This entire chapter, this entire step of step 11 is about being in the world but not of it, living your life like a prayer, serving the master of truth, arriving at sainthood, being unconditional love for the world, resonating with the words attributed to Jesus on the cross, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. That is how you arrive at this place of unconditional love. It is not through half measures. It's not through what you can buy. It's actually through what you can give away freely without wanting anything in return. You have to set your intent on chasing after truth, chasing after God, using surrender and forgiveness as the tools in your tool belt, as the mechanisms for undoing negative past karma and creating a positive karmic bank account moving forward. Your children, your spouse, your family do not need you to chase after the world. They need you to chase after God and show them how it's done. There's not a single thing being said here that's not true. It may touch you in a way that it pisses you off. It may touch you in a way where you want to bastardize what's being said. It may touch you in a way that tinges your ego and says, this is BS. But the entirety of what's being delivered to you are the words of God to you in this video, telling you how to experience more of God, showing you what it is you need to do, not from a place of wondering about it, but from a place of the personage delivering this message to you is there, telling you, reporting on how he's out of the way, on how to get there, on how to be there, on how to reach a doorway of enlightenment that is the final step of seeing that separateness is an illusion, that the lowercase I is an illusion, that self with a lowercase s is not worth your time to be part of at all compared to experiencing life from a place where self with a capital S is present. This step, this chapter is about witnessing joy, witnessing and coming from a place of unconditional love, about having a daily contact with the Creator. The way that this person experiences God through a life and daily life like a prayer, lived like one in this world but not of it, is through a constant, around the clock watching of the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that arise, surrendering them over to a power greater than myself, forgiving where forgiveness needs to be had, starting the day before the eyes opens when awareness presents itself, and surrendering the day over and the steps to be taken and the words to be given and the operations of the day, before going to bed tonight on bended knee, capping the day off with a final surrender and asking of forgiveness for where things fell short, and then hopefully either dying in the night and getting the eyes to open up into a perfect heavenscape, or waking again in the morning for another chance to serve God by repeating that over and over and over and over again. And the reality is, you don't have to be on some bearskin rug somewhere having people worship at your feet to be that which is connected with God and be in this world. This body, is fully in this world, living a life, having businesses, making money, giving away money, hiring people, going after contracts, being a provider of something within the field of capitalism in the United States of America, while constantly internally surrendering, forgiving, and coming from a place of gratitude. Most of you watching this, all of you watching this, do the same thing on a regular basis, being in this world, but being riddled with guilt and fear and anxiety and wondering, why am I not more happy? Because you're chasing after the world. Chase after God. Chase after God with a pathway. You can use this pathway. You don't have to. You can dive into the pathway of service, into the pathway of transcending the mind, and through the pathway of using the heart, the pathway of love. There are so many viable pathways that will take you all the way to the doorway of knowing God, the reality of God for yourself. This is but one. This pathway encompasses surrender, forgiveness, gratitude, and service around the clock. This pathway uses the heart, uses the mind, uses the body, uses the steps, uses content to transcend it. It is many pathways into one, with 12 steps that guide the progression upwards into a world where if you work this program integrally from start to finish, if you apply the principles of surrender around the clock, if you embody forgiveness in all that you are and all that you do, it doesn't mean you're not going to fall short. It doesn't mean you're going to not hold angers and resentments, but it means when you know that forgiveness is actually the thing that should be chosen, you are quick to look at those opinions and those positions and those judgments and that moments of talking about people and to surrender that over and ask to be forgiven yourself. It's seeing your part to play in things. It's seeing that all issues you have in your life are your issues. They're not the world's issues. Everything is in a subjective experience of the world around you and the seeming separateness until you realize that all is happening around you without you having any part to play other than some lens of consciousness that's agreed to be part of this locality of humanness in this entire field of consciousness, which allows all of our little contents to arise. You think you're separate from God. You think you're better than another. You think you're less than another. You think you won't have because of. You think. Our thoughts don't mean anything. Zip, zilch. I don't care if you have a doctorate or you didn't graduate 8th grade. Thoughts don't mean anything. All they do is they point back towards a pursuit of truth in emulating the figurehead of a religion or in chasing after wealth and serving the world. Thoughts allow us to communicate. Feelings allow us to interact. Emotions allow us to continue in the cycle of rebirth. All attachments and aversions that are aspects of what gives us choice in the first place come from our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions. You have thoughts, you have feelings, you have emotions. You are not these things. You have a body, you have an ego mind. You are not these things. You are not them. It's a cliche at this point in time to say this, but it is truth. You are more akin to a spirit having a human experience than a human having a spiritual one. We are smack dab in the middle of an infinite amount of realms and dimensions present right now. This is but one of an infinite created by God. This place allows heaven or hell to be present in a single choice at any point in time throughout any waking hour. It is the perfect place to work off karma, to build positive karma, to be part of this video game, to pretend that we're separate from God. You're not separate from God. It only feels that way because you're choosing more fear than love. You're choosing more of the world than God. You're chasing after something that's blowing in the wind as opposed to a strong pillar that is affixed to and will withstand any wind. You believe you're the winds. You believe you're the thoughts. You believe you're the things that are happening to you as opposed to realizing that all is happening for you because this gift of choice at the root of it points back to choosing God or choosing the world. Are you going to be in the world and of it? Or are you going to be in the world but not of it? Are you going to live your life fearful of prayer because I'm an atheist and this is nonsense? I'm a Christian and this is nonsense. I'm a Buddhist and this is nonsense. I'm a Democrat and this is nonsense. I'm a Republican and this is nonsense. Are you going to identify as these things that arise as content? Or are you going to see through these things and say, it's pretty cool to be a Republican, pretty cool to be a Democrat, pretty cool to say that I'm this and that I'm that and I follow this and I follow that. Pretty cool that you do too. Pretty cool that other people get that opportunity to choose for themselves what works for them this time. Or are you going to position yourself against another out of the false belief that God has sent you here because you're a piece of crap? You are not a piece of crap. No matter what you've done, no matter what choices you've made, no matter how much you've stolen, no matter how much you've hurt, you're not those choices. You're not those things. You are more akin to that which can see those as maybe choices and decisions and points in time that you would no longer choose to do now moving forward. You can define who you are to the world and what it is you're chasing after from this point forward. You do not have to base your opinion of who you are on on opinions at all. Say, God, that was pretty foolish that I chose that. Man, if I could do that again, I wouldn't do that. See that the sin that sponsors all others is ignorance, and it's ignorance of the fact that you are God, that you're not separate, that religions do their best to talk about the reality of being here, but are woefully insufficient to actually experience the reality of God while here, except for the gift of pointing us towards the figurehead of a religion or figureheads that give us the opportunity to emulate aspects of God, namely being love, in service to mankind, in service to our family. You have such an opportunity to see the world from a different angle. This is the first video you're finding is in this entire series. Go back to the rest. We dive into forgiveness. We dive into surrender. We're into the witnessing, the gratitude phase of this program. Chapter 11, step 11, endeavor daily to improve our conscious contact to the Creator. We admit where we wronged another, where we've been wrong on a daily basis. We forgive ourselves and the world around us. If you truly want to know the reality of God being real for yourself, pursue unconditional love and coming from a place of joy around the clock. Forgive everyone for everything, no matter what. All the time, even if you don't feel like it. Even if in your being, I don't want to forgive this person. Say that to God. God, I know I should forgive them, and I do forgive them. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't even want to forgive them. Hide no longer from God with half truths, half measures. Get busy living. Get busy moving. What are you waiting for? Do you want to come back and do this all over again in a place and a state less than even what you are right now? Do you want to have to take on the karma of more lies, more getting, more taking, more stealing? Do you want to live at a place where you're not waking up happy, where you're not moving throughout the day filled with joy? Or do you want to come from a place where you let God fill you up with all of that to such a degree that it spills out of you everywhere and you become a blessing for every person you come in contact with? You can be the biggest dirtbag in the world watching this and make the choice here and now to chase after God and change that perception forever, because what you are is changed forever. If you find yourself right now saying, I do want to do this, how do I do this? Close your eyes and say, to thee, O Lord, I surrender over this life. I surrender over my fears. I surrender over everything that separates me from you. I surrender over believing that you judge me and sent me here because I'm a sinful, fallen creature, and that I surrender over the illusions of whatever this place is. Please, dear God, allow your angels to fill me with love. Please find me. Fill me, pull me into a place where truth is present, and I get to work off this karma. I get to forgive. I get to surrender. I get to embody unconditional love for the world. I get to be Christed. I get to reach Buddhahood. I get to know you. Nothing is as important as knowing you. Please pull me into that. Please don't let my stubbornness stop me any longer from knowing you. And watch what happens. Watch what arises. Watch what comes up. You have an opportunity to be something far greater than you have any idea that you are. And again, the mind is so woefully insufficient to know God, because it was created for a very specific purpose, and that's to not even understand infinity. It can grapple with it, it can get the concept of it, but it cannot know it because it's finite. What you are is infinite. I'm Mason Wooldridge. This is If You Live It. This is a conversation where we've dived deeper into chapter 11, step 11 of the book, If You Live It, where we're witnessing joy, where we're coming from a place of unconditional love. I love you. I'm here for you. This community is growing by leaps and bounds. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people have subscribed to this channel and continue to. The book is coming out soon in a form where you can have it in your hands. Until then, these chapters are free to you. So far, we've released the entire book when you watch this, if you're watching this in real time, except for one chapter. And if you find this past March of 2025, from the beginning of April on, from 2025 forward, this entire book is free to you via YouTube channel, via podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, and via the website, ifyouliveit.com. Go to the content section. You'll have all of the preface. You'll have all of the story leading into the steps. You'll have all 12 steps and 12 chapters presented to you for free. This book is free. This pathway is free. There's no barrier to you to knowing God except the one you continue to put in front of your face. If you keep choosing the world, you're going to keep choosing unhappiness, despair. You're not going to be satisfied. You're going to always wonder why this person isn't making me happy anymore. This job, this car, this house, this money, these watches, these shoes, these whatever. Nothing outside of yourself can bring you lasting happiness and joy. Your marriage will fail if you continue to think that you're going to get something from him or her to make you feel better. The secret is, it's about what you can give to him or her to make him or her feel better. And until you see that, you're doomed to failure. But you don't have to be. Chase after God. Beg God to show you truth. Tell God you're ready for a different life than what you've lived up until this point. Whether you're incarcerated or whether you're out in the free world, tearing stuff up, you can know God for yourself. You truly can. And that will change you forever.
Yeah.